Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Football, yeah! Football! Football!
Yeah. Welcome in. Purple Daily, little feedback Friday for you all, where we pretty much just turn the show over to you guys. Stockpile your questions, comments, concerns, critiques, whatever it may be. You can always hit us up through the Score North app. That's the best way. There's a feedback tab inside that Score North app, and you can get at us with any of your theories or speculation or whatever it is. The show is presented by our friends at TCL, now an official partner of the NFL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. And TCL makes more than just TVs. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances. TCL brings you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. Phil Judd, our executive producer, Declan Goff. And we should start the show with a huge thank you to the Purple Daily audience. You guys, let's pop this up on the screen here for the YouTube audience. So you guys have helped Purple Daily, as of this morning, this Friday morning, hit 7th on Apple's National Football Podcast rankings. 7th. Get the flag.
Flag's waving. The flag is waving. This one's for you guys. There you go.
So, all right, for some context here and for the audio audience, here are the rankings. And Purple Daily in the last 15 months, and this is just Apple. This doesn't count if you listen on Spotify. Thank you. If you watch us on YouTube, thank you. We appreciate really any which way you consume. But over the last 15 months, Purple Daily, I don't know, 5 or 10 different times has definitely, maybe even more than that, has hit 9th or 10th. So we've definitely seen the show hit 9th or 10th, and that's even just, quite frankly, kind of mind-blowing for us. We're just idiots talking about the Vikings every day. But here are the rankings for National Football Podcasts. Pardon My Take, Barstool Sports.
Solid.
The Jason and Travis Kelce Podcast, so New Heights with the Kelceys, which is a great podcast. The Herd with Colin Cowherd, which is the biggest, most distributed sports talk show in America. Bussin' with the Boys, Barstool Sports. NFL Media's biggest podcast, which is Around the NFL. The Athletic Football Show. And Purple Daily is 7th.
Oh, my God. Yeah. There it is. This one's for you guys. Pour one out.
If you could throw it up one more time. So, and this could obviously, this could change. This fluctuates
This is
on a regular basis.
Forever and ever. It can never be moved.
Sometimes we're down around 15 or 20. Other times we're apparently at 7th, but it's ahead of a couple more Barstool podcasts, the Pro Football Focus podcast, DraftKings, another NFL Media, Action Network. It's ahead of ESPN's top football podcast, which is the Dominic Foxworth Show. And then there's another team podcast from the Chicago Bears sports podcast. But it's just, isn't it just kind of weird? It's great, and obviously it's cool.
Whoa,
There we go.
Full screen was on. That scared me. Yeah, it's fantastic.
We're coming for you, Cowherd. We're coming for you.
You know what?
Pardon my take.
It speaks to the passionate family of Vikings fans we've built up and that have gravitated towards us. And I mean, I think the incredible thing is it speaks to how strong the Vikings fan base is.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you look at the fan bases around the league, and it's not, free agency is always fun, but it's not like the Vikings had a ton of cap room and they're tearing it up like the Bears
and
are.
all of those podcasts benefit from free agency period, right? Because the
I'm
interest
just saying
across the league is high.
But as far as the team podcasts go, it's not like the Vikings went into the beginning of the league year with a ton of room, and so everyone's like, we got to hear what the Vikings people are saying.
They signed a 25-year-old cornerback no one had ever heard of before last week, and a blocking tight end, and they cut Adam Thielen.
It speaks to you guys, and we appreciate it. We love that. Thank you.
So yeah, super grateful. Just thank you guys, and just probably shout this out too. We do have some openings for advertisers the next few months here in the off season. So if you're interested, if you're a business owner and you want to partner up, hit me up. PMackey, PMackey at scorenorth.com. That's SKOR North. .com. Before we get to Feedback Friday, I know this might be outdated, but you just swapped texts or tweets with Over the Cap here. So when does the Za'Darius bonus?
So I asked him, because if you go to Over the Cap right now, first off, today was the day that the bone that guaranteed salaries hit for a certain player. So Za'Darius is $5.05 million. So per Over the Cap, that has hit, which means that if the Vikings were to now cut Za'Darius Smith, they'd only save $7 million and they'd be on the hook for $8 million. Jason from Over the Cap tweeted back and said, I asked because does this trigger at like midnight of the 17th or during a certain hour of the day? And he says it should be guaranteed. The trigger, I believe, is to be on the roster the third day, which is today. I guess if he has cut that info, the info I have is off, so we have to wait to see. But on Cook, since I know there were some questions, his injury should have him safe no matter what, which we knew that.
So I've heard conflicting things that usually it's like in the afternoon sometime on the third day that it would kick in because the league year started at like 3:00 Central Time. But Over the Cap would know more than anyone. And Jason from Over the Cap is saying, no, the Za'Darius bonus has already kicked in. But that seems weird that the Vikings would like wait on a Za'Darius move until after the bonus kicks in.
And that's a pretty big bonus as well, right?
It's $5 million, right?
I'm going to go out on a limb and bet it's 4:00 Eastern.
So I don't know. By the time y'all listen to this, maybe this has already resolved itself. So we'll just wait and see on Za'Darius and Dalvin.
I think assuming the Davenport thing gets done, which actually might be hanging the Za'Darius thing up a little bit at this point, because as of this recording, the Marcus Davenport contract I don't think is signed yet.
Yeah.
I think Cook is gone now. I didn't before it all, but again, it makes no sense. His bonus withstand or not, but it doesn't make any sense to bring back Madison to clearly have the desire to give Ty Chandler a chance to have shop Cook and now do nothing with that. It just doesn't make sense.
Yep, I generally agree there. Let's get to some feedback here. And so we kind of talked about this on yesterday's episode, but let's dive in a little bit more here. This is from Jed Rafus, I believe. Rafus. He says, would you trade Danielle Hunter this year for a 2024 first-round pick?
A first-round pick? Yes.
100%.
A next year first-round pick?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I would. Yes.
Let me rephrase because I think we'd all say yes to that if you could get next year's first-round pick.
Sorry, I got excited.
No, it's okay. It's okay. What is the least amount you would trade Danielle Hunter for?
The least amount I would consider. So if it's not a first-round pick, if you were going to send me like a second-round pick, especially in this year's draft, and like a fifth-round pick, that's probably because just to be very clear, my stance on the majority of guys the Vikings have either jettisoned or might is I don't think that they have a lot of draft pick trade value. Okay, I do not feel that way about Hunter. I think he does. But if you were to give me a 2023 second and like a fifth-round pick, and I felt at 29 he didn't fit into a type of guy now that I was going to give another extension to, I would take a second and fifth.
Dex, what's the least amount?
Yeah, I would probably take a no less than a second or a third. I'm not taking anything. I'm not going to take a fourth or a fifth. I need at least a day 2 pick. I wouldn't even mind again throwing in some type of conditional pick in there where if he plays a certain amount of snaps, reach certain sack total, that triggers to a first. You're seeing more of those trades happen too. I'm not selling anything less than a second.
Dude, if he gets like 15 sacks, that would be worth a first round pick or something.
Or playing time too, right?
Yeah, because he's had questions.
So I would say like I need at least a couple of thirds or something better, like a way to get to a first through incentives or a second or something. So I'm wide open to it for this reason, and we've kind of mentioned this going back a month. Our first episode on this was a month ago, I want to say. Should they trade Danielle Hunter? It's like, you guys are crazy. Why would you trade? Because the Vikings, and they have proven this the last 2 weeks, the Vikings are not making moves to all-in win football games in 2023. They're not tanking. They're not punting. They're kind of doing what the Steelers do, which is, okay, we're going to try and be competitive while reshaping this thing for a future window. And that future window appears to be 2024. So again, if your goal is to win a bunch of football games in 2023, you wouldn't trade Danielle Hunter. But if your secondary goal is winning football games to your first goal, primary goal, which is be as good and flexible as you can be heading into 2024, 25, 26. In 2024, Danielle's going to be 30 years old. He's going to be past his elite edge rushing prime. So to me, it's more important. I'm not just going to trade him for anything, but if the offer is right, and the reason we're talking about this is because his base salary for 2023 is like $5 million. He's going to want 15 or 20 million minimum in cash. So you're going to have, barring some sort of crazy kumbaya meeting with him and his agent, like there's going to be tension here about his contract. I think it's more important to have draft capital that can help you build that window 2024, 25, 26 than it is to have Danielle Hunter helping your 2023 team. That's my broad take on it.
And the Vikings would have a very fair case to say to Hunter and his representatives, you don't fit in to what we're doing, and therefore we can't give you the contract that you want. Like, that's totally fair. Mm-hmm. So this is not if everyone must go. This is, you know what? It doesn't make a ton of sense. And keep in mind, too, it is worth pointing out that factoring into all these discussions is going to be fair or not. And I think it's fair, the fact that Danielle Hunter missed all of 2020 with a neck issue that required surgery. That's a big deal. And then got hurt again in 21 and I think missed about 9 games. So the fact is, yes, he came back. Yes, he was healthy, or as healthy as he could be throughout 2022. But at that age now, you've got to think of that too. So this is not an Iron Man now. So like, there's just a lot of things, but I think we all do agree this is very different than Thielen and Kendricks and that crew. This is a guy who has value left, and you need probably realistically, you could start with a second-day pick and get a third-day pick as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if someone said here's a 2 and a 5, you probably have to do it. I don't know to what degree they've shopped him at this point, because I think there's like 9, 10, 11 other things they've been trying to do, and then so maybe it's a pre-2023 draft thing, but in all likelihood it might be something you do in the summertime.
Let's just say the phone's rang, okay?
Are you reporting?
The phone is rang. Yes, the phone is rang.
Wait.
Reckless speculation.
You think other teams don't look at that guy's contract and say, hey, he needs a new contract. We're ready to win now.
Is this reckless speculation,
no,
educated speculation, or a flat-out report?
It's a flat-out report that they've gotten calls. I don't know from whom, and I don't know if they're entertaining them. They've gotten calls.
I expect another Judd Zolgad reference on PTI later today.
Yeah, Michael Wilbon. Judd Zolgad of Score North.
Of SKOR North.
Yeah.
That's a top 10 podcast, Mikey.
I would love to hear the associate producers like going, so is it Score? Or is it Scour? Like,
should we just spell it out? It's SKOR Radio?
Let's just spell it out. Let's just spell it out.
And can you imagine between that and Zolgad? What a nightmare. I'd bury the report. I'd lose the report.
It's Judd it's Phil Mackey. Phil Mackey's reporting from Purple Daily.
Clan Goff.
All right, Barbara on YouTube says, one question here. Why does the true championship player, Hall of Fame baller take pay cuts? She's referring to Harrison Smith here. While the underperforming status quo, never going to be a Hall of Famer, first round wild card and out loser in primetime quarterback stays with just moving around the same contract. That's
Phil,
a
if you want to field that one, you can. I'm
gonna push back a little here on two fronts, even though I am the number one Kirk hater, if you will, among a lot of the Vikings fans. Well, Harrison's not a championship player yet. Okay. So him and Kirk have won the same number of championships. I just want to throw that out there. But I think the reason, it's a valid question. So Harrison Smith didn't restructure, didn't like push a little cap money over here, but he literally just took a straight up pay cut. His base salary was going to be $14.7 million. It's now going to be $8 million. He'll be fine. He's made enough money playing football. I think he's been responsible. I think his family and future Smiths are going to be fine. But Harrison took a straight up pay cut. I've seen some misguided thoughts on what happened with Cousins. Look at Cousins is down to 20. No, Cousins still gets $30 million in cash this year. The accounting is what was moved around. And the reason why you can ask Harrison Smith to take a straight up pay cut and you can't for Kirk Cousins is because the market doesn't value 34-year-old safeties like 34-year-old quarterbacks. Kirk is technically still in his prime, you could argue, as a quarterback, but we're kind of on cliff watch, right? Harrison's not in his prime anymore. So if Kirk were to hit the market, he would get $35-40 million a year from somebody. If Harrison Smith hits the market, he's not getting $14.7 million. He would have gotten, we speculated with Doogie, like maybe $7-9 million or something.
Yeah, maybe.
So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but it's just
No,
kind of the ruthlessness of the market, right?
You defended Kirk well.
Okay. Chris Manson chimes in here and says, Garrett Podell from CBS Sports graded every team's free agency so far and gave the Vikings a D+. I've been a big fan of the free agency cycle by Kwesi and company. Just wondering why you guys think this dude buried us with a D+.
Because if you're a guy like that and you're a national, excuse me, getting choked up. I'm so defensive of the Vikings right now. If you're a guy like that,
I don't see Garrett Podell's podcast in the top 10 rankings, huh?
And if you're Pody, as I call him, and you're doing that list, you're probably ranking every team or a ton of teams. So if you're from the outside looking in, the Vikings didn't have, first of all, much cap room. Second of all, those names aren't, for the most part, sexy. So, like, unless you have a full understanding of what the team is doing and operating within the parameters, because, like, I'm impressed because of the trend here, but the trend is to go younger. Like, so if you're Garrett, you're probably not breaking down, like, every nuance, and just on paper, flat out, it doesn't look sexy. So that's why. It's not fair. I'm not saying it's fair, but I am saying that's why, because he's probably trying to rank a bunch of teams. And if you look at that free agent class, right, it's like, oh man, this isn't great, but you don't understand. Actually, it's very smart.
I think it's a little. I don't know. I have no idea what his level of like deep knowledge about every team is. So I'll just kind of frame it in a different way. I think he's going off of, if you're just trying to make your 13-win team better in 2023, he's looking and seeing all these household names and leaders. Oh my God, they lost Patrick Peterson, who was good last year, and they said goodbye to Adam Thielen and Eric Kendricks and all these recognizable names, and they added a blocking tight end. They're going to say goodbye to Zadarius Smith, but they replaced him with Marcus Davenport, who had a half a sack last year. On paper, it looks like, especially if you're not sort of fully in tune with the decline of some of these veterans, it looks like they got a lot worse on paper. But they're also not necessarily trying to get better for 2023. They're trying to get better for the future.
Right.
So maybe it's a D+ if you're trying to win 13 games again in 2023.
It's the problem that anyone doing national stuff runs into, in my opinion, which is you don't have the inherent knowledge of what the strategy is, like us. And that's why our podcast ranks so high, because Vikings fans know that we tell the truth. You know that we tell the truth, don't you, out there? We know that you know that when you listen to certain things, you don't get the truth, which is why you come here for the truth.
Basically, the moral of the story here, to sum it up, is we're clearly perfect and have no flaws, and these random guys from CBS are just wrong. Obviously.
Let's just say right now, halfway through this unbelievable show, that I would love nothing more than to see my friend Macadac on a Friday now sit back with some type of dark liqueur and talk about how that liqueur embraces his life, helps his life out, before going on to your next question. As thousands and thousands of people say, I got to go get that very liqueur.
I have some liqueur, some Irish-themed liqueur for later today on this
Happy St. Patty's Day, boys.
When your last name is Mackey, you've got to. I think I'm more than half Irish, and I feel like I'm Irish 365 days a year. So today is kind of an amateur day. It's New
Year's Eve.
Yeah, it's for the less than 50% Irish. All right, just drink responsibly on this St. Patty's Day. Chris Manson. Oh no, we already got to that one. Chancey and Fargo, one of our favorites.
Chancey, what's up?
Chancey. Chancey once lit an actual dumpster fire during Vikings vent line in 2020.
Gorgeous.
One of the great displays in Vikings vent line history. He says, seems like Score North has been drinking a lot of Kwesi Kool-Aid over the past few weeks. A bit out of touch with a lot of Vikings fan opinions I am hearing. How about some constructive criticism or skepticism other than the Cousins restructure? What is a Vikings departure or signing that each of you will go on the record saying you disagree with?
Oh, Chancey throwing down a gauntlet to us. Well, first of all, that's why I've prefaced a lot of what I've said, which is there's a lot more moves to be made that I have no idea if they're going to do the right thing. So, like, what I like right now, it's not necessarily the names, it's their ages and the structure of the idea, okay? Which I really do like. Like, I'm not trying to be a fan here. I think it's smart. I think it's very smart. So anyway, a signing that I don't,
or a departure,
and
I'll trigger your memory here. So this is what's happened so far. So the departures are Eric Kendricks, Adam Thielen, Cam Dantzler,
love it,
Patrick Peterson,
love it,
Dalvin Tomlinson.
Don't love it.
The returning players are bringing back Harrison Smith, Garrett Bradbury, Alexander Madison, Andrew DePaula, Greg Joseph, Nick Mullins. And then they signed Josh Oliver, Marcus Davenport, Byron Murphy.
Okay, if I have to pick one that I don't love, and this was expensive, I would say Dalvin Tomlinson. He definitely brought. I mean, he's a good player.
He's a good player.
Is he a dominant player consistently? No. Does he give you a player that you definitely need? Yes. I would say that would be the one where if you could have found a way to make it work, and it's. I mean, I certainly was not apoplectic about his departure to Cleveland, and the Browns did pay him. But I would say that would be the one where I'm like, that's not going to be an easy guy to replace. And do you have that guy? And I don't think that you do right now. So, Chancey, this is for you. Dalvin Tomlinson's my choice. What are the Vikings doing?
What's funny though is even with Dalvin, it's like, all right, he got like $27 million guaranteed as a 29-year-old good but not great interior defensive lineman. So
I was living up to the request.
Yeah. I'll give you this one. I'm skeptical about Alexander Madison because the last 2 years he's been just over 3.5 yards a carry. And he's had some sample size there. PFF also hates him as a receiving running back. So I think the first 2 years of Madison looked a little different than the last couple years. But again, even though I don't necessarily love with all the different options out there and versatile sort of platoon running backs, there's still a bunch available. There's just a sea of these guys you can go find for $2, $3, $4 million. I don't know that he was the best option, but it's like a 1-year deal basically, maybe 2. He makes $3.5 million to the cap this year.
I was going to say it's not that much, right? I like that.
So
that's
even if I don't love him as a player as much as Dalvin,
right?
It's not like a crippling contract.
But are you in this case thinking of far more prime Dalvin Cook? Because like we saw things last year that scared me too. But I do agree with you in the sense that like that was to me, that's a place where you could bring in a pretty damn generic guy as long as he can pass protect a little bit and catch a little bit. So that's totally fair.
I want Declan to say long snapper Andrew DePaula here.
No, although I did see his contract got broken today. Another long snapper got paid. So DePaula had
he had the belt for 1 day.
You can hang that plaque that for like 48, 72 hours, he was the highest paid long snapper.
See, that gives us hope. If we go down from 7th on the Apple Podcast rankings to 40th, we never have to give back the day that we were 7th.
But to answer Chauncey's question, I would say Bradbury. I know the contract's reasonable, but you're banking on that he had one really good year, really honestly, 13 really good games because he got injured obviously a bit. And you're banking that he's going to step right back in, even with the continuity, and be the player he was for those 13 games last season when he was mostly a train wreck. And he wasn't a star in pass protection last year either. He was, I guess, better, but low bar to clear. I think he could have found that in the draft. So I'll say bringing back Garrett Bradbury.
Yeah, the back thing, just there's a lot going on.
That's a good one.
Yep. So, all right, Nick G here says, I grew up in Buffalo, Minnesota. Nick G. Right on, dude.
I stalked you. I still am. Phil, I'm looking at you right now. Phil.
I don't think he know. In case Nick doesn't know, I am a Buffalo High School proud Bison graduate.
baseball team.
He says, grew up in Buffalo, Minnesota, have ventured into the Twin Cities for dinner a few times. Yeah, it's a hike, man. It's like 50 minutes. My wife's birthday is in early April. I would like to take her to a really nice restaurant in the Twin Cities. What are some of your guys' recommendations for restaurants? Oh my gosh.
This could go on for a while.
Ooh,
Whereabouts?
Yeah, exactly. And what
Downtown,
are you looking
did he
for?
say, or like?
He didn't say. I just read you his note.
Okay.
Oh, you need to know. Text him
if
right
there was
now.
more there. Yeah, you need to know
You
this.
want to email him back quick? And
But I mean, you could throw out
he's going to be
suggestions. And
he's going to be in Forest Lake, actually, specifically.
Listen, you smart ass. He'll be coming down 394. So we need to
I'm
know.
not
Like,
withholding information.
do you want to stop in
from you. I
St.
read
Louis
the
Park?
note.
Do you want to stop in Minnetonka before that? Do you want to go all the way downtown?
Let's start in the western. There's some options in the well. Declan, what's the place? Didn't you cancel dinner plans because your stomach's growling? But
dying and I'm coughing up a lung right now. Where was I supposed to go?
St. Louis Park place, right?
Yeah, and I honestly forget the name because I had never been there before. So that's
Hazelwood.
We're out Hazelwood. Thank you.
Hazelwood. Excelsior Boulevard. Very good. Top notch.
If you want to venture toward downtown, and by the way, the crime is not. You can still have dinner, okay? For people that are scared about the crime downtown, Red Rabbit is fantastic.
Always a go-to.
Check out Red Rabbit.
You'll probably see one of us three there on if you stop in.
Yep, it's probably true.
Steakhouse Manny or Murray's.
Or JD Hoyt's for some
JD
chops.
Hoyt's, yeah.
If
you want to go into a food coma, JD Hoyt's.
Yeah.
There's
also a great Applebee's in Roseville too. All right, they do.
What's wrong with Applebee's?
2 for $20. Nothing, dude.
I love Applebee's.
Oriental chicken
Yeah,
salad.
exactly right. Some beers.
There's an IHOP in Plymouth too that I would strongly suggest you consider.
But I mean, there's a lot of potential here because, dude, you're starting in Buffalo and you're going through except for that narrow strip of road for a while that I absolutely hate. That's out on 12 before it turns into the freeway. They put up a barrier there, so it's harder to cross it and accidentally die. But that's the one that gets me. That narrow stretch of road. But once you're on 394, you're home free.
This isn't quite what you're looking for too, but if you just want to kind of stop like a third of the way, if you just want to kind of weave your way Maple Grove Parkway, Mama G's, one of the better dive bars on the fringes of the Twin Cities. Go to Mama G's in Maple Grove.
Have I ever been there?
I don't think so. We used to do Ventline at the Lookout, which is like probably 5 miles from Mama G's.
Okay.
Maple Grove, but
The Lookout was solid.
it's good times. The early Mike Zimmer days, we would do our Ventline at the Lookout. And they would always have a chili cook-off on Sundays, too. So you could go and just, like, eat 10 different kinds of chili and be gassy for the post-game show. This is great. Or you could just get your life in order and go to Livia instead. That would be another option if you want to lose some weight. Actually, we already did that this week. So let's talk about Federated Insurance instead.
Hi, Livia. 855.
We're going with that.
Go, Livia.
Sorry. I have my
Livia.com.
sheet crossed up. Federated Insurance has been around since the early 1900s, okay? And those people at Federated are in good shape, too. They take care of their bodies, I'm told. But Federated is here to help you navigate the waters of business ownership. And you can find out all sorts of resources and tools, information at federatedinsurance.com and a full list of industries they specialize in. Federated Insurance, where it's our business to protect yours. And a shout out to our friends over at Dennis Kirk. All right. It's like 8 degrees as we record this right now. So probably not time to get your Harley out quite yet. All you Ragnars out there. But at some point here in the next few weeks, baseball weather will emerge. Riding weather will emerge. Whatever you ride, Harley, Indian, metric cruiser, sport bike, you'll find what you need at DennisKirk.com so you can ride more and weight less. Over 180,000 parts and accessories in stock. Clothing and helmets as well. Shipping is free for orders over $89. If you order by 8 p.m., they ship the same day. Everything you need for your ride at DennisKirk.com. Okay? All right. Thanks to Livia. Let's see here. Nick Reed says, I was watching a clip from Good Morning Football with Ryan Leaf, who was very good, in my opinion. I've seen him on GMFB. He was pretty good. Mm-hmm. He came on our show at the Radio Row like 5 years ago, too. Leaf said he was very high on Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. As much as I could pass on a rendition of Rocky Top from Chip Scoggins several times a year, is there any chance the Vikes trade back in the first round, pick up a second, and grab Hooker with their second-round pick? Leaf also had some interesting things to say about Levis and Richardson. He knows a few things about being a completely unprepared college quarterback with high first-round expectations. So on Hendon Hooker, he's like, is he like 25 and coming off an injury too? I think he's old.
Oh, is he 25?
Just want to
He
make
is
sure
25.
he's 25 years old. Yeah.
Bennett's like 34. He's going to come out.
Yeah. Do you guys have once you get past the first 4 quarterbacks and we get into like second, third, fourth, fifth round territory, so Hendon Hooker territory, what's your level of interest?
So I think the Vikings, I think part of that scenario that he just painted might be absolutely correct. If they don't make a trade to get draft picks, I think they are going to trade back. I think they are going to trade back and probably get a second round pick. Would they take Hendon Hooker with that pick? I don't think so, but I wouldn't dismiss it entirely. But I mean, I think his scenario is going down the right track. I just don't know. You would need to be convinced that you really like a quarterback coming out of college in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
That seems to me to be a bit high to draft him probably. But I think something along those lines of creativity would not be completely surprising. I just don't know if they would draft a quarterback in the second round after getting a second round pick.
I like the idea. I think second round's a little bit of a reach, though, for a guy who's coming off ACL surgery, a little bit older. We're talking about players with windows and age windows and giving those second contracts. I know he's entering the rookie deal, but the 4 years of team control, he's going to sit behind him for 1 year. I would be interested if he falls as a third, but if it's before that, I'm probably not going to take him.
Man. So we should do an episode on sort of like the value of when you draft a quarterback as it pertains to the Vikings. I did some research on this last week, and let's just say that when you draft quarterbacks after the first round, it's really, really, really hard for them to be good enough to eventually be like long-term starting quarterbacks. So it's a dart. I mean, the first round's kind of a dart throw, but it's more of a 50-50 coin flip dart throw. Once you get further in, second, third, fourth rounds, those guys are very, very much clipboard holding backups at best. There are examples. There are Kirk Cousins, and there's like Romo was undrafted. But I'm fine with it because they should be taking shots on quarterbacks, and they do have a good infrastructure to bring young quarterbacks in. But I don't want Hendon Hooker to be like, this is this regime's shot at a future quarterback. You'd have to treat it a little bit like the Kellen Mond thing, where okay, it's a shot, but it shouldn't prevent you from doing it again in the first round, maybe in 2024.
Yep.
Chad T chimes in, says, what's going on with Trenches with Boone? Waiting till the draft to start episodes or what? So yeah, the last couple of years, Boone's been an in-season contributor for us. He's super busy outside. He essentially the last 2 years, he used to host the Sunday morning Sirius XM NFL show. He had done stuff with San Francisco radio, and he had made a couple appearances on NFL Network. But he is so ingrained in he has 4 kids in a family in Minnesota.
Coaches hockey, right?
He coaches youth sports, youth hockey, football, and he runs an offensive line training company. So he's super busy, and so he's been kind of an in-season weekly guy for us. You definitely will see him again. Hopefully sometime soon we'll get him again. I actually just talked to him on the phone 3 days ago for like 25 minutes as he's like wrangling his kids and bro, dude, just got back from the combine.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's still definitely in the mix, and his weekly show is sort of on hiatus right now, but you'll see him again at some point. So if you guys have ideas on what you want us to add to Purple Daily too, sometime like between now and the season, let us know. We've been thinking about, it'd be fun to have a year-round draft show. Like just put a quarter in Thor.
Craziness.
And just, even in like October, August, just be talking about the draft.
He could guide us through the college season.
Yeah. Tell us.
Who to watch.
The Vikings left guard, Ezra Cleveland, had a bad game week 2. All right. Who are the left guards we should watch this weekend? On Saturday or something. I don't know. So we'll get Booney back at some point. I think that'll be a wrap on this edition of Feedback Friday here. We have more Vikings feedback for you guys on Mackie and Judd, our other daily show here. And I guess we're on Dalvin Cook and Zadarius Smith watch for however long. So we'll keep you guys posted. We are your home for daily Vikings off-season news, speculation, rumors, and in today's case, straight up capital J journalism reporting by Judd. Vikings are getting phone calls.
The phone's ringing. The phone is ringing all the time.
Was it a text or a call?
No, it's calls. No, it's
DMs?
calls. You up? Hey, Quasi.
How about
You
a
up?
second? How about a third? No? Okay.
What's going on?
So thanks you guys for hanging out. And don't forget to, we have the Before I Die merchandise available at scorenorth.com/shop. If you want your Just One Before I Die t-shirts, hoodies, scorenorth.com/shop. skornorth.com/shop. Thanks for making this one of the most listened to football podcasts in all of America,
You're the
apparently.
best. You're the best.
Crazy ass Vikings fans.